Hello, welcome to Miss Peepers Reading Corner. I'm Katrina, aka Miss Peepers. Let's talk about books. In celebration of Banned Books Week, all throughout the month of October, we will be talking about a different banned book in every video. I'm talking about why books are banned, what kinds of books are banned, and encouraging you, the reader, to decide what books you want to read and not let anyone else tell you what books you're allowed to read. Today's book is Carrie by Stephen King. And yes, I did get the 50th anniversary edition. Isn't that pretty? I'll tell you what, I don't normally spring for special editions, but this one cost about the same as any other hardcover book, and I want to encourage that. I would like more publishers to do that. This is Stephen King's first published novel, and while some people love Stephen King and other people hate him, it is indisputable that he is one of the biggest names in modern horror, and this is where it all began. Not quite. He wrote some short stories before this, but this is what put him on the map. This book follows a teenager named Carrie White. Her mother is a fundamentalist Christian and raises her in a very oppressive and religious style. Carrie's father is dead, so it's just the two of them. Her mother is abusive to Carrie, both physically and emotionally, and Carrie does not get along well with the other kids in her school. She is lower income, and so they make fun of her clothing. She's very sheltered from popular culture. She's not allowed to date, and she talks about religion because that is the world that she lives in. Well, in the beginning of the book, Carrie is in the gym locker room and she gets her period for the first time. She's 16 years old. So it doesn't even occur to the other students that Carrie might not know what is going on, and she doesn't. So this is very traumatic for her to begin with. Not only does she think that she is bleeding to death, but also the other girls are making fun of her. Eventually, the gym teacher intervenes and sends the other students away and helps Carrie get cleaned up, tells her about menstruation and what's going on. But something else that happens with this onset of puberty is that Carrie starts to learn that she is telekinetic, that she has the power to move things with her mind. And this is where the trouble starts. A boy at school invites Carrie to go to the prom with him, not quite because he wants to, but because his girlfriend feels sorry for Carrie and wants her to have a nice time. The girlfriend feels bad about not standing up to the bullies on Carrie's behalf and wants to do something nice for her. And her boyfriend, being a generally nice guy, obliges. But the bullies are still out there, and when they get to prom, Carrie and her date are named prom king and queen, and when they go up to the stage to accept their crowns, one of the other students drops pig's blood on her head. I think a lot of people probably are familiar with that iconic scene from the film adaptation, where Carrie, in a white dress covered in blood, starts setting fires. And one thing that King really digs into in this story is this sense of otherness that Carrie feels and the true cruelty that teenagers are capable of when really high school is a space where no one is fully comfortable. Everyone's figuring themselves out. You're trapped with these people that you've been going to school with for years. And Carrie certainly comes into her own and figures out who she is through the course of this novel. I also like the structure of this novel. The story is told partly in a standard third-person narration and then partly with clippings from newspapers or excerpts from essays or other documents, and it's woven together really nicely. Carrie was published in 1974 and since then has faced a number of challenges and bans in quite a few states across the US and probably in other parts of the world as well. It has been challenged because it contains cursing, underage sex, a negative view of religion, and graphic violence. And I can't argue with those statements. They are all in this book. The censors read the book this time, y'all. Now, I'm still against censorship, mind you, but it is a bit refreshing that the challenges actually reflect what's in the book itself. Now, I do want to touch on that negative view of religion a little bit. Carrie's mother is incredibly conservative, to the point at which she even denies that she's ever had sex before when she has a child. And she was married to her husband when she became pregnant. Carrie's mother is a fascinating character study. She's so devoted to her belief that sex is wrong that she can't even imagine that she herself has had sex. She knows that Carrie is different, and she knows that Carrie can be dangerous, but rather than acknowledge this up front, she tries to beat that out of her and fill her with religion in the hopes that that will save her child. It doesn't, because Carrie is who she is, regardless of what anyone else will say to her. So while I do think this book does portray Carrie's mother's religion in a negative light, I have a hard time expanding it to all religious experiences. But of course, reasonable people can disagree on this. Regardless, this book has been in the sights of the censors for quite some time, and it sits at number 81 on the list of 100 most banned books between 1990 and 1999. Incidentally, another book by Stephen King, The Dead Zone, was number 82. And it doesn't really surprise me that Stephen King ends up on the challenge and ban lists, because he does tackle really dark subjects, and he does describe violence frequently in a very graphic way. He does not hold back on that. Sometimes it's incredibly effective. Other times it feels gratuitous to this reader. Again, you may have a different opinion. Now, I read Carrie for the first time many years ago. I reread it recently for this video, and I actually really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about an early Stephen King. For me, his books are hit or miss. Sometimes I really enjoy them, and other times I'm not that excited about them. I think that's probably a fairly common King experience, simply because he writes so much. But this story I really enjoyed and connected to. Have you read Carrie or anything else by Stephen King? There are plenty to choose from. Let me know in the comments. And either way, I will see you in the next one.